Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our last webinar for the year entitled The First Meeting, which is sponsored by Iris. As usual, you can ask your questions on the questions panel that you will find to the right of your screen. Can also download today's presentation in the handout section to the right of your screen as well. Our presenter today is Jason Bernic. Jason helps financial planners and financial planning businesses to grow. He does this through coaching, consulting, and creating proprietary content. And Jason has a long history with the financial planning profession, from having been a financial planner to international wealth management, to having been employed as a financial planning coach. Jason is an executive life coach and director of Success Coaching. He is also the founder of Insane Prospecting, a suite of services that support financial planners to grow their businesses through new client acquisition. In March 2023, Jason will co-launch FI Consult, an independent consulting firm working exclusively with financial planning businesses that are on a growth trajectory. Jason is a financial planner professional and an integral coach, successfully combining both to bring an integrated approach to client management and business evolution. Jason is very familiar with industry on all levels and has a strong opinion around where it is and where it should be headed. You can catch Jason on the Upfront podcast, episode 5, Red Light, Green Light, to get a feel of how he shows up as a coach in the world of financial planning. And with that, Jason, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you for having me. Wow, that was a mouthful that was given you to read out there. You made your way through it quite successfully. Thanks for that great introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for attending live, to those that are, and to those that will be, or when you're live watching the recording, thank you for logging on and being with me after the fact. Today, I want to shuffle my screen around. There we go. Okay, today I hope to add some real value to your client engagements, especially those with new clients. Our focus during this session is so specific, so much so that developing and honing skills to improve this moment in time, being that first meeting, is most often entirely missed. At the most, it receives a mention and a short discussion. I'm going to hold you in this moment for almost an hour while we discuss this moment that is usually looked over. By the way, most of the learnings and the takeaways from this webinar today are not in the slides. The slides are more for me than for you as prompts and to allow me a format and a flow. So please do grab a pen and some paper or open a digital document. I'm going to be sharing a lot. And so as a result, take as many notes as you can. I will speed up at times, but I will slow down as well. And I invite you to watch the recordings again as well to fill in any gaps where you might have missed some information or weren't able to take down the notes in time. Okay, so shall we begin? Somewhere between this thing called business development and the financial planning process resides this other thing that we call the first meeting. Its importance is right up there, next to profit and loss. Yet, truth is, little attention is paid to it. It seems as though all the spotlight is always pointed at everything else that follows, while assuming that you already got the client. Prospecting, as you know, will get you in front of a potential client, but who you are, how you conduct yourself, and the experience that you provide will keep you in front of that client, hopefully for years to come. So let's jump in and begin by taking a look at exactly what a first meeting is. It's often referred to as an exploratory meeting, where an advisor and a potential client get together and they explore the possibility of working together, sometimes called a discovery session. I think a lot of financial advisors that don't work for a particular company avoid calling it that because of its relatedness to a brand. And thirdly, it's often called a chemistry session because it's about the relatedness between two people as they explore the possibility of working together. It's about meeting up with a potential client as a result of a prior contact or communication where there is an interest and or intent from both the advisor and the potential client to enter into a business arrangement of some sort, undefined at this point, even though there may be particular intention from the client or the financial advisor. At this point, there are no promises or guarantees, nor are there any agreements yet. The discussion may be around a single need or an inquiry into something bigger or more personal or longer term. It is about asking and answering questions and getting to know each other both professionally and personally, and then weighing up the choices, engaging how they and you feel about working with each other. I use that word feel very specifically, initially and hopefully over the long term. And then on the back of this, making a decision as to whether or not you want to proceed and how you might like to proceed. So note at this point that it could also be about meeting up with an existing client to take them through a new process or provide them with a new experience. The way you do things or the way your business does things may have changed in the foreground or the background, and there's nothing wrong with taking the new experience to old clients. In fact, believe me, this is what they want. We know that clients don't want the same repeated copy-paste experience every single time they meet with you. So when you immerse yourself in today's presentation, which I hope you're doing, please think about this. I think primarily from a point of view of onboarding new clients, but it can absolutely be applied to existing clients as well. I've coached and consulted to financial planners for over 10 years. The biggest question that I've consistently been asked over this time is how do I get new clients, hence the creation of the Insane Prospecting suite of services. The second biggest question, which I'm not asked, which I believe I should be asked, and it should be asked to anyone in this kind of role, is what should the first meeting look like? Because this first meeting is a make or break. You've come as far as getting in front of the client. What then? What got you to this point, in other words, the first meeting, is effectively the result of some kind of business development plan, which was then translated into a strategy, and you took action and created activity around this strategy. It's also the result of building the capacity to be who you need to be to do what you want to do. And anyone that's ever worked with me on a one-on-one or group basis, coaching, consulting, or insane prospecting will have heard me say this before, because it's not just about what you need to do, it's about who you need to be, especially if you're connecting with other human beings. But individuals, financial advisors, get stuck around themes such as their own confidence, certain patterns, recognized or unrecognized, that support or break them in what they want to do, as well as blocks that hold you back or limiting beliefs, as well as availability and access to certain resources that you need or think you need or rely upon in order to do what you need to do. Further to that, advisors sometimes get stuck with the environment in which they operate, the people they work with, be it their colleagues, other advisors, providers, suppliers, or clients themselves, as well as the systems that they work with and the processes that they have in their business, as well as targets that they create for themselves or targets that are given to them. The truth is, if you've made it as far as setting up the first meeting, you have done well. So this, what we're talking about today, is about making that first meeting count. Not all first meetings are the same. Each one has its nuances. Different advisors, you're different to the next advisor in many ways. You know that. Can we say that no two advisors are the same? Different clients, you know that your one client is different to the next client in terms of who they are, their personality, their needs, and even their interaction with you. The circumstances are different. The times at which you meet have an influence on that meeting, as well as the places at which you meet. Also, your business is different to the next business, and the businesses may operate and have different philosophies and processes, which affect how you show up in that meeting, which affects the meeting. And although you might enter with certain intentions or expectations of how you want the meeting to go, things can change. You need to be agile and adapt to the client and the situation. You've heard the expression, you need to meet the client where they're at. Well, that's true to a large extent, I think, in terms of the conversation that you have and the structure of the meeting, aligning with their needs. But then bear in mind that you also need to lead. Even if you have an intended outcome and the desired flow of your own as you go into this meeting, you cannot begin with you. This is where most first meetings fail. You have to move the client to front and center and make it all about them, all about the client. That is the consistency that you want to create across all first meetings, no matter how diverse they may be. The mistake that so many advisors make is they go in and they talk about themselves and their business and their product from the outset without that rapport and without that connection. It is important to communicate certain facts, as you'll see in the brochure slide later. But where, when, and how you do that is particular to circumstances and timing. You need to go in with the objective to serve before you provide the service. That will orientate you sufficiently to put their nervous system in a state to receive versus to reject what you have to say. I'm throwing a little bit of neuroscience at you. It's fun understanding how the brain works. At this point, I have to assume that you're here on this FPI webinar because you want to build or grow your business in a particular way, and that you're more interested in establishing long-term relationships of value than selling a single product to a once-off client. Am I right? Good. I think my assumption is safe. So yes, not all first meetings are the same. Today is very much about sharing an approach that creates deep and meaningful relationships with financial planning clients. Relationships that I believe will offer value to both you and the client for many, many, many years to come. Also, relationships that will be profitable and through which you will receive referrals and hopefully grow your book. I know that sounds very salesy, grow your book, but you're here to grow and grow your business. So the book is just jargon that we speak into the industry. These meetings rarely move in a particular order. So I'll provide you with the Lego blocks, and how you build is very much up to you based on your applying your own EQ to the situation that you have with these unique clients. I'm a coach. I'm a business owner. I have a coaching and consulting business. I work with financial planners and financial planning businesses. I help them to take their businesses to the next level. That's very important. My work is not to hold people where they are. It's to take them and what they're doing and what they're trying to create to the next step. I remember a presentation I did a few years ago on building your billion-rand business in terms of AUM. And I was speaking about S-curves, the S-curves of financial planning businesses, where you grow the business to a point where you plateau and then you're faced with choice. And that choice is to hang there or to go down or to make shifts in what you do and how you do it so that you can move up to the next plateau. It's about taking what you do to the next level. Okay, so let me throw some random information at you because I think it'll provide some context in the form of foundation to the philosophy that I'm bringing to this presentation today. My first exposure to this thing that's called lifestyle financial planning, and you know, it's debatable, like what is lifestyle financial planning? Maybe it is just financial planning. We work toward creating a lifestyle for clients anyway, but there was this business that in 1999 brought the phrase lifestyle financial planning to South Africa. And then, at least this was my first exposure to it, it was identified that there was a significant parallel between coaching and financial planning. Both understood where a client was and where a client wanted to or needed to be, and came up with strategies and actions in order to help them get to that point. All right, so that's context number one. The next is this thing that we call behavioral coaching, which has become very popular in the last number of years. To the extent that a lot of financial advisors are jumping onto this, and I say this respectfully, bandwagon, because it's very, very good that they're doing it so that they can show up in the meetings with their clients in a way that serves their clients better, in a way that endeavors to understand their clients' dreams, their goals, their habits, their patterns, their relationship with money, as well as their relationships with money relative to themselves and others and things in politics and economics, their world and their financial picture. This is what this idea of behavioral coaching offers to financial planners in their relationships with and their approach to financial planning with their ideal clients. The next thing, the third one, is that coaching comes from leadership. This is why you see so many leaders in industry often leaving or retiring and going into coaching. Clients want to be led. You think about other professionals that you've used in your life, you rely on their skills, their experience, their expertise to lead you in a certain direction because they're the experts, because they're the professionals. You go to them for very specific reasons. So although David Rock's SCARF model speaks about autonomy, it's the A in SCARF, autonomy, the clients do want to have that kind of co-pilot feeling where they're working with you and they're almost leading you, but that leading the financial planner is in terms of their needs, is in terms of what they want to create, is in terms of what they want to achieve. But then you need to lead them through the financial planning process. Okay, so you empower your clients to feel that they have autonomy, but then you lead them through the process. And then the last thing, the fifth, that I want you to really keep in mind, again, it's about them, it's not about you. It's always about the client. It's not about you. You're there as a facilitator, an advisor, and many other things, but the focus has to be on the client. So how do you approach? How do you approach? And this is where I refer you to the slide. What do you want to create? Do you want to create commission, a client, a relationship of value for life? What do you want to do? Do you want to sell a product? Do you want to provide advice? Do you want to craft a financial plan? Who do you want to be as an advisor and in this relationship with clients and potential clients? Do you want to be a product salesperson, a trusted advisor, a financial planner, a wealth manager? Who do you want to be? The latter, this question around being, is referred to as your way of being. It's a coaching approach to this. It's your way of being, or how you show up in your profession with clients, in the relationships, in that first meeting. How do you want to show up? Do you want to show up as this guy? Probably wouldn't walk up to his table, and if I had a meeting with him and I'd just seen a picture of him or heard his voice on the phone and I walked into the coffee shop and saw him sitting there, I'd probably just turn around and exit. Or do you want to show up as this guy? There's a big difference between the two of them. A very, very big difference. I would assert that the first is kind of creepy, and something that I say a lot when I work with my clients is that needy is creepy. You don't want to be that needy financial advisor. You don't want to be that person that comes from a place of need. You don't want to come from a place of scarcity. You want to come from a place of abundance, because if you have that mindset, if you take on that way of being and you show up to focus on the person and serve them and their needs rather than focus on the money that you could make from the deal. If you focus on the money that you can make from the deal, or you focus on the numbers, or you focus on getting in and getting out and looking for the next client, they will pick up on that. The psychology of that is simple. They will pick up on that. They will feel uncomfortable. It will trigger something in their brain, probably the amygdala, which is their fight-flight response, put them on their back foot, and they are out. They are out. So you don't want to be that person. That being said, who should you be? Well, first and foremost, I think you need to be professional. Whatever that means to you. Different people, different varying degrees of professional. I do think that, very simply put, professional is how you look, how you act, and how you communicate, how that actually translates into people's first impression of you. It means many things to many people. For a man, it may be one thing. For a woman, it may be another thing. It could be the words that you articulate. It could be the clothes that you wear. I also think it has a lot to do with, for example, where and how you meet. Now we've got virtual meetings in addition to, well, I say now, I've been doing it for many, many, many years, in addition to in-person meetings. So there's certain virtual etiquette, right? I'm going to show up on a virtual meeting in a certain way with the right sound, the right light, the right position, the right decor, the right background, still dressed properly, still prepared. And I'm going to show up with a similar preparation and approach and attitude to an in-person meeting, hopefully at my office, so I can own the space and it's professional and I'm inviting them to my space like other professionals whom you respect, and hopefully not in a public place unless it's a relationship meeting. And even if it is, hopefully never at McDonald's, never, unless you have a very particular type of client. I have strong opinion around this. Some of you may disagree, but generally speaking, if you're trying to build the business that you want with the people that you want, you don't want to show up at McDonald's with the largest Coke you can get and the greasiest fries attainable. Okay. Who else should you be, or what else can we talk about with regard, who should you be? Well, be curious and be interested. Have a genuine desire to learn and to understand and to help the person sitting in front of you that may have been referred to you or you may have proactively contacted. You are not, and bear this in mind at the same time, you are not the answer to all of their problems. What you are is a partner, the co-pilot thing to a large degree. You're a partner to their financial planning and their attainment, sometimes their creation as well, but their attainment or pursuit of their goals. You're their guide because you're a skilled, experienced, qualified individual. And you're also, to an extent, they're educated because this is what you do. And that doesn't mean they have to know what you do, because they don't have to know the intricate laws of tax from their tax consultant or their accountant. But you do have to educate them as to certain things that are relevant within this financial planning relationship, like risks and inflation and market movements. At the same time, I believe that you should be their biggest supporter, and they, through the relationship that you build, your biggest fans. Remember what Katie Braden, formerly, now she's Kate Braden, formerly Katie Holmes. She was Katie Holmes when she said it. She got up on stage at an FPI convention and started talking about raving fans to 1,100 people in a room. But they should be your raving fans. You should take an interest in them and their goals like no one else. Your job, at least insofar as your mindset is concerned, as you approach this first meeting, is to help them achieve their goals and live the life that they want. If you show up like this, you will create trust. There is no doubt. Okay, so what are the prerequisites to this? The first is you need to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself going into this meeting, whether virtual or in person, which means that you need to allocate enough time, you need to get your mind right, you need to dress properly, you need to create the right space. Your presentation is important, some of the stuff I mentioned just now. So allocating time is the right amount of time. Don't be rushed and don't build in too much time to put your client or potential client off. Have an objective. For example, agreement to proceed, which I think is almost the stock standard objective if you were looking for a default with regard to the first meeting. Set an objective to proceed, prepare an agenda with a few items, take your client through that agenda, invite them to contribute to it, take what you need to the meeting, whatever that means. I mean, even if you're sitting in a virtual meeting, you need to be prepared and have all the documents ready, whatever screen shares you want, and so on. And guide and lead all the time while making it all about them. And please show up on time. Show up on time. Mark Keating, CEO of Sales Guru many years ago, said that sometimes to create trust, you just need to dress properly and show up on time. Okay, so consider the origin of where this meeting came from. The first meeting could have come from someone that, an existing client that referred to you, or you could have prospected this client yourself. It could be a financial planning meeting, or it could be a single need meeting, right? I'm going to very simply divide them into these two. And even the single need meeting could have been referred by an existing client or someone you know or a center of influence. or you could have prospected, in other words, done your own business development in pursuit of creating this first meeting. Either way, however this first meeting came about, it is a way in. It's a way in to move to financial planning. However it came about, it is a way in to move toward financial planning. About 3 weeks ago, I interviewed a marketing person on the Insane Prospecting webinar because she impressed me. What she did, I contacted her for some merchandise, call a corporate gifter. I wanted like this cap in the background, that type of stuff. And she suggested that I meet her at a corporate gift supplier. And I thought that was really good because I can touch and feel the items, see them in the material. I can get to know her a little better. And so I took her up on it. I met her there. And without going through and touching and feeling the pens and whatever else I was looking at, she grabbed me a coffee. We went through to a meeting room at this corporate gift supplier. And she barely spoke to me about the very specific items that I told her I want. She asked me about the brand because this was all for Insane Prospecting. She asked me about the business. She asked me what it was part of. We got to success coaching. We got to financial planning. What she did was she held my need for merchandise in place, but she moved around to the business, tried to understand it, and got to business strategy, contextualized it within marketing, and then she brought the merchandise back into it. And in addition to telling me what we need to do for the merchandise, she came up with some marketing strategy for me, which was brilliant. Do you see how that can relate to financial planning? When one of your clients or potential clients is a single need, you need to contextualize it within their financial planning picture. It becomes so powerful. You are either going to start with you or them, but preferably with them, especially if it's a referral. But if you start with you, it's got to lead to them, and then it's got to be contextualized. But what if? But you contacted me. Ideally, you always move from the superficial, which is the chit chat, the single need, why are we here, to the deeper, more meaningful, more connected, and holistic types of conversations. But I know it's often difficult to go deep if they're on their back foot because you approach them as a potential client. I use the word prospecting once again. But you're already this far. They have already said yes to the first meeting. So they're at least willing to listen, which is huge. It's interesting how the brain works in interpersonal relationships. We want to move them from this away threat state to a toward reward state. Remember just now I said from their back foot to their front foot. And we do that by making it all about them, by keeping it light at first, by asking questions and listening to their answers, by using those answers that they give us for direction and for flow through the meeting, using very strategic conversational strategies like past, current, future, moving in and out of those areas, and also using areas of their life like family, interests, financial, the spheres of life, the pizza slices. We can also ask probing questions like, do you have a financial advisor? You've got to be quite confident to ask these ones, but if you've got the collateral that sits behind this, then they're powerful. Do you have a financial plan? Show it to me. Show me your financial plan. If you change nothing or do nothing different, at what age will your money run out? You are really probing with these questions because the likeliness is that they do have a financial planner, but they don't have a plan and they have no idea when their money will run out. It's all to get them thinking and to open up to a new conversation. And when you land on something, you drop in and explore. You go deeper. You could also ask open questions like, what's on your mind? If you want some reference for this, Mitch Anthony's first book that we all know of, called Your Clients for Life. In fact, I think if you're a financial planner and you haven't read Your Clients for Life, you've got some reading to do this holiday. You could also offer to share a financial planning experience, like a typical client conversation. You could even speak about it. You don't have to move into a role play with a potential client. You could tell actual client stories. You could use a dummy client as an example. You could even show the dummy plan and the advice that you came up with for this dummy client. It's a very powerful thing to have. Sometimes when you're stuck in a conversation, you can default to dummy. I haven't said it like that before. You can default to dummy. You can present on your own business's philosophy, your process, your differentiators. Real differentiators, not the telemarketing ones of we will do an F&A and we will meet with you every year. You're searching for an opening and then you are going there. If it is, or you do find it to be a single need only, attend to it while contextualizing it within the holistic financial planning. Okay, so I'm checking the time. I think we're doing good. The differentiated approach. This phrase in yellow can change everything. It can change everything. It changed everything for me when I started to coach. And it has changed everything for the financial planning clients that I work with, that I teach this to. It's as simple as this. When you go in to a first meeting with a potential client and you talk about what it will be like to work with you, you know, if we were to work together, then I'd do this and I would do that, and then you'd experience this, and then it would come out to this, and you know, it would look like this. None of that means anything. It's all just blah, 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 blah. It's words. It's putting a flyer in front of someone, and you know that they don't read them. Like, yeah, take this thing and do some reading when you get home. It doesn't mean anything because it's conceptual. It's conceptual. It's hearsay. You know, you say you would, but will you? Will you actually do that? Is that really how it'll pan out? So instead of talking about the concept, give the experience. Move into it right away. You know, I can tell you about what we do, or I can just do it. So for me as a coach, when I meet with a potential client and they go, oh, what would it be like to work with you? I don't go, well, it would be like this. I go, well, let me give you an experience of what it would be like to work with you, for what it would be like for you to work with me. And I coach them. I don't tell them what it's like to be coached. I coach them to the point, and I'll get into this in a moment. So I give them the experience instead of telling them what it will be like should they have the experience. Okay, so for you taking this and working with it, start by sharing the objective and the agenda. So, you know, this is why we're here today. This is why we're meeting. For me, the objective is that I want to reach agreement so that we can move forward. Let's see where we get. What is your objective of the meeting? Invite them to contribute to this. This is my agenda. And maybe you've got to keep it simple, really 2 or 3 items. You know, like I want to give you an experience of what it's like to work with me. I want to reach agreement, and then I want to talk about the next steps. Simple. Is there anything specifically that you would like to enter onto this agenda? Take note, write it down, check in with them at the end. Most likely you'll cover it all. Okay. Just a reminder to you at this point that it is all about them. It's all about them. You're giving them the experience, put them up front and center. So go straight into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Jason? Tell me about Jason. Get to know them. Not their money, get to know them. Ask general questions. Ask very specific questions. Ask what if questions. What if this? What if? It just opens up their thinking. Already, just through the general, specific, and what if questions, they are having an unusual conversation. They are having a conversation that is not their everyday personal or professional conversation. Why? Because you are positioning, you are questioning, you are listening, and you are clarifying. At least you will be clarifying. Move through the areas of their life. Get to know them on every possible level that you can. Get to what's meaningful to them. Get to what excites them the most. Get to their greatest fears. Get to their biggest dreams. Ask so that when they get onto something like this is what I want, so that. This is the distinction between a means goal and an end goal. You want to move past the means goal. The means goal is this thing. It's a goal so that. You want to get to their end goal. I've got this goal so that. And it usually has to do with superficial things like wealth. I want more money so that. Eventually you'll get to that end goal. Keep asking so that. The other most powerful question is what else? What else? What else? What else? Don't stop asking it. What else? What else? Seek that moment, the one when they go quiet, the one that brings a tear to their eye, and you will experience this. Start to carry tissues. Stay with the silence when you've created that moment. Lean in and hold them there. You just acquired their goals without even having to ask them what their goals are. You had a conversation so powerful that they will never forget it. They will never forget it for as long as they live. They will also never forget you as an advisor. And by the way, at this point, they're probably forgetting their existing advisor or any other financial advisors with whom they're having conversations leading up to a choice as to who they're going to be working with. That's how powerful this is. You went deeper with them than they have ever been with anyone else, let alone a financial advisor. And you know what? You gave them an experience that they will never forget. So why do we do this? Why do we do this if it's not obvious to you? Can't talk to financial planners without a graph, right? We do this because clients are prepared to pay this much for advice. Clients are prepared to pay this much for your advice. However, clients are prepared to pay this much for their dreams. If you're a fee-based financial planner, whatever that means, this may resonate with you a lot more. You may look at this and go, holy something, that's exactly it. If you haven't dabbled with fees yet, doesn't matter. It's about their commitment to you, no matter how you get remunerated, because your job is to help them to realize their dreams. The first meeting is everything. Whether you are closing in on a single need or creating the foundation to a high value relationship, you want to give them that high value experience. Those businesses that are doing that are charging almost 50,000 Rand. Doesn't matter how it's component based, offset, doesn't matter. They're charging, they're invoicing one way or another almost 50,000 Rand. You want to give them that high value experience because it gets them and it keeps them, pardon the lingo. It gets them and it keeps them. Again, not all first meetings are the same. This differentiated experience could be 20 minutes or it could be 3 hours. It could be the full immersive coaching experience that discovers and unlocks their unrealized dreams, or it could be limited to goals and objectives. Either way, consider yourself, consider the client, consider the circumstances in which you find yourself in this first meeting and create the most memorable conversation possible. Then bring it home. Bring it home. Once you've had that conversation where you landed on the goals and you've held the silence, you've kept the moment, you can say, you feel that, don't you? This is important to you, isn't it? If you could achieve this beyond anything else, what would it mean to you? Perhaps you want to go a little lighter. Would you say that this is your biggest priority? Am I right in saying that these 3 things mean everything to you? If I am to understand you correctly, your ideal retirement looks like, and you can revisit the points. And then bridge it to financial planning. This bridge is so important. In prospecting, I make a huge fuss of the bridge because you can build the rapport, but you still got to set up the first meeting. You got to bridge it from the chit chat to the business conversation. This you have to bridge from the behavioral coaching approach to the first meeting to moving on. What if this was actually possible? What would it be like if we could help you to achieve these? How would it be if we could provide you with a plan and a strategy to actually make this happen? I can help you with this. Can I show you how? This is exactly what I do. Can I demonstrate it to you? Or just, I would love to help you with this. You can even go back to a prospecting conversation, a random conversation with a potential client in getting that first meeting. You probe, you ask, you get to know. I would love to help you with this. And they go, how? Well, let me explain how. The magic truly is in the connection and the care. At the same time, the truth is that every single goal can be monetized and put into a financial plan. And the goals can change the picture. I believe that at the most, 5% of financial planners in this country. Let me widen that, because I think there's a difference between a financial planner and a financial advisor. So a financial advisor to me is more encompassing. Less than 5%. 5% at the most of all financial advisors in the country are doing this. Show them the picture. Whether it be a whale graph, an asset map, whatever you use in your business, show them the picture. Show them either their current reality or that of the default dummy client. Talk to them about real things that you do as a financial planner, about scenario planning, about risks, around trade-offs, because that's how you get from their current picture to the picture that you want to create for them. That's how you come up with your strategy that you want to action for them. Bring in the numbers and then show them how those numbers can change based on the strategy, the decisions, and the action that you and they take through implementation on the back of coming up with a strategy. And this is all in the pursuit of creating a strategy to pursue their goals. Gather information, including goals. You know, we breezed over it when we were taught it. It is so important. At this point, you want to get their buy-in. You are looking for a yes. You want yes, a yes. So you ask them, do you have any questions? Shall I continue? The back of, shall I continue? Yes, please continue. Great. Let's move on. So maybe you want to bring in the brochure at this point. You know, the brochure is the thing that they never read, but sometimes it's important. It could come first, it could come later. Maybe you want to serve them through this differentiated experience and then get to this. It could also be that if they did respond by saying, hey, you contacted me, you know, you arrive at this first meeting and go, well, what are we doing today? And they go, hey, you contacted me. It could be that you did contact them, or you pushed for the first meeting, or they were stubbornly left-brained. It happens. They don't want this immersive coaching kind of experience. They just want to know. They want the brochure, right? So it doesn't matter. I mean, this is where the subjectivity of this meeting, the nuances of these first meetings are a reality. What this slide shares with you is that these things can come at the beginning or the end. It depends. I would advocate and I would really work with you and support you to have them come later. So you've created this immersive experience, which has given them almost a life-changing experience through a conversation that they've never had before. And then you paused and you kept with the moment, and then you bridged it to what next? And then what next? Well, let me tell you a little bit about me. Tell you a little bit about me. Tell them about you. I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the profession for this long, you know, but keep it short, really keep it short. A little bit about your business, because if they don't know your business, then they need to know. You know, you're an independent financial planning business, you're a franchise, you're a representative of a particular business, whatever it is, tell them about your business. Sometimes you represent an incredibly strong brand. Sometimes you have a philosophy that's incredibly powerful and it resonates with them. Maybe it's your process that's differentiated. I think a lot of what we spoke about this morning already is around the process and the philosophy that almost sits behind the process or underpins it. Simply that every goal can be monetized and so on. If you've taken them through the immersive experience, they've already experienced the philosophy. But if they haven't, and you're talking about this up front, it may be about, well, this is the way that we work with clients. Pull out the dummy clients or go, these are our systems, these are our processes. I will ask you a bunch of personal financial questions, and I need to understand your assets and your liabilities, incomes, expenses, as well as goals. And this is how we work with goals. And you want to work in here something about how you charge. And note I say how you charge, not what you charge, because that's not really relevant. It doesn't matter. It is about how you charge. At some point, you may get into the details, the nuts and bolts, especially if you are fee-based and you need to invoice. All right, so that'll come. So what now? What now? Is there more? Yes, of course there's more. Still got to ask for the business. You always have to ask for the business. So check in with the client. You always want to check in with the client. Any questions? No? Then you want to seek the agreement. Seek agreement. My objective of this first meeting is to seek agreement and proceed. So seek agreement. Your question here could be, are we in agreement? Remember, I asked you something right at the beginning, like, can we move on? Can we, I introduced this today and I said, can we move on? So to your client, you might say, are you happy to proceed? I know it's a closed question, and that your agency training 35 years ago, you were told to never ask closed questions. But at some point, you got to go, are you happy to proceed? Are we going ahead or not? It's fine. It's fine. You can do that. You have to do that at some point. You could also slow down and ask questions like, is there anything that could potentially get in your way of our moving ahead? If you're meeting with one of the spouses or one of the business partners, you could say, okay, I'm going to take it really far here, and you need the confidence in yourself, your business, your ability to win a client over, bad language, but to connect with a client to the point that they will work with you. This is incredibly powerful. You could say something like, I don't want you to make the decision right now. I want you to go away and think about what we spoke about, and read those notes that you wrote, and speak to your spouse or speak to your business partner, and check in with me in 2 days. All right, you can see how powerful that is, but it's got to come from a place of abundance. Again, not a place of scarcity. You have to be incredibly confident. It has to be a great referral. You have to have prospected incredibly successfully for you to do this. So if you're not ready for that, keep it in the wings and hold it on to something. Hold it on for later, because you will use it. It is so, so powerful. Okay, the next thing you say are, or is, great. The next steps are. And then what are the next steps? Well, are we going to take, the question might be, are we going to take the next steps right now or in the next meeting? Well, that really depends on time. Did you create a 20-minute meeting or 3-hour meeting? It's up to, situational dependent once again. But you do need to set expectations, because there's a lot to happen following this initial engagement. There's a lot to happen. I draw on David Rock's SCARF model once again, where you've got the C that stands for certainty. You want to give the certainty. You want to give them the certainty. What's next? When will it be? How long will it take? When are you going to get back to me? What do I have to do for you? What's next? What's next? What's next? Okay, offer them that certainty. On the back of this, describe what you need from them. The words that are most powerful in this regard, and trust me, I've moved from phase to phase to phase, honing the best way to do that. Again, come from a place of confidence. Lead through your coaching way of being in your financial planning business or job. This is what I require of you. This is what I require of you. And then you tell them, I need your financials. I need all of your financials. I need, by the way, you might just want to mention something somewhere within this, that you need trust and transparency. Maybe honesty. You want to add honesty to that. You need trust, honesty, and transparency, because you cannot do your job unless this client is transparent and honest with you, which results in trust. So you need their financials, right? Gathering the information. Step 2, you need assets, liabilities, incomes and expenses, and goals if you haven't been there already, or maybe there are more goals, maybe more superficial goals. You always want to revisit the goals, right? You may have gone deep, but you want to go back there. You need a letter of authority. Note, I didn't start with letter of authority. I got to it after a lot of other things, but you need it. It helps the client, it helps you. You need a copy of the existing financial plan if they have one. You need it. If it exists, you need it. So ask them for it. Maybe you think it's cheeky. Well, if you got a new accountant, they need to see your accounts. You need it. You need a copy of their will. You need a copy of the trust documents. If it's business, you need shareholders agreements, buy and sell agreements. You need all of this. This is what I require of you. Depending on your business model, your remuneration model, or should I say your charging model, especially if you are fee-based or hybrid or moving toward that or some version of it. See how unclear I am about this, because I think the industry is unclear. There are many ways, and the iteration or how it manifests usually is a combination of a few different things. So you often need, especially if you're moving to the more modern way of doing things, a service level agreement around this. So say you've got a service level agreement, this is what it is, let me take you through it, you sign here and we move forward. And then the old disclosure in inverted commas letter. It doesn't have to be a letter, it can be whatever you want. You don't have to give it in person in the first meeting. The medium that you use, when you use it, how you use it, it's somewhat flexible in this regard. And by the way, when if I Consult launches on the 14th of March, this will be one of the modules, the disclosure letter. All right, so that's about it. How are we doing for time? We're okay. I'm going to quickly go through some frequently asked questions, and then I'm going to hit you with some don'ts, and then if we have a minute or two, we can open it up. So whenever I speak to anyone about this way of approaching a first meeting, the first question I ask, and this is why I get asked, and this is why it's in red, is how do we have these conversations? Great question. I'm glad you asked it. Well, there are a few ways. The first, if you don't want to spend any money or immerse yourself in studying, just simply be curious. This is the way of being, right? It's how you show up in a first meeting. Just be curious. Find the human being that sits in front of you, mysterious, so mysterious that you can't help but ask them the questions. Lean in also to your own objectives and your agenda. Just be so immersed in this conversation, understanding that you have a point to get to and you have a flow that you would like to embark on, albeit with their agreement. The second is that you can take coaching courses. Remember, there's an alignment between coaching and financial planning. This coaching way of being has you show up in this capacity, which changes everything. So the first coaching course I ever took was a brain-based workplace coaching course, and it was 4 days with a bit of work, and it gave me a lot because it helped me to understand how the brain works in interpersonal relationships. You can also spoke about it earlier, behavioral coaching courses. I'll mention two names. Rob McDonald is doing one, Mary J. Faria is doing another, and Old Mutual Wealth is doing a third. Different needs, different accesses too, but those are the three that I know that are incredibly powerful and can really take you from where you are to where you need to be in terms of a learning environment, okay? No one's paying me for that. There are no punts. This is just because I value what they have created. And I'm familiar with it. And the third is to work on your own way of being, which is really, no surprise, working with a coach. And you can work with a coach one-on-one, which is the most powerful way of making this happen. Constantly working on yourself, your way of being, building your capacity to be who you need to be, while working on being self-generating and self-correcting. Okay, this is human performance, human potential. That's what working with a coach does. All right. And then in addition, I suppose there's one last thing you can do for yourself now. I mentioned earlier Mitch Anthony's book. If you want to called Your Clients for Life, I haven't read his latest one. It's about 2 years old. But Your Clients for Life is the one that I keep going back to, because he's got repositories of questions that you can bank and use in your client meetings. Okay, how you use those questions, in other words, your way of being and how you show up with those questions, is the work you do on yourself. What you get from that book is the thinking and some collateral, right? Some tools. All right, the next question is, how long should the first meeting be? I was talking about 20 minutes to 3 hours just now. That was just giving you two extremes. I believe that it should be at least an hour, but I would build in an hour and a half, because you go deep and you may need that buffer. At the very, very least, 30 minutes. But then if you have a 30-minute meeting, because that's all you can get, make sure it's very specific. You're going to go in, give them the experience, and you're going to have the most powerful conversation with them they've ever had, and you're going to hit a goal. And then that's it. Next step is we're going to set another meeting. We'll talk, I'll show you the brochure. All right. Or I'm going to tell you about who I am, who I work for, what I do, how I do it, and how I charge. And then we're going to make another meeting. That's the next step, which we're going to agree upon. And I'm going to give you the immersive experience. All right. Because you can't do all of this in 30 minutes. Should you be able to spend an afternoon with someone, do it. But it's rare that you're going to get 3 hours with someone. Okay. So the stock standard is go in for an hour, build in a half-hour buffer. So put aside an hour and a half. The next is, what should I take with or prepare? Well, nuances to meetings. Time check. You'll know. But you'll only know if you do your research on the client, whether you prospected the client was referred to you. Do your research. Understand as much as you can about this client before you go into this first meeting, as much as possible. Go into their LinkedIn, stalk them across social media, speak to the person that referred you, have a chat with someone that knows them, like whatever it is, as well as overlay that with your own philosophy and process in the business, and then you'll know. Will you be able to get a 30-minute, a 1.5-hour meeting and give them that immersive experience? Or will you, on a Zoom call, have to defer to your dummy client? If so, how do you do it on Zoom? How do you do it? Do you share a screen, or using an iPad where you sketch live? That's how you prepare yourself. Okay. And that's what you need to take with you. So, if it's in person, maybe you want to take a very beautifully presented, well-bound dummy financial plan. And the last is, should I invite the spouse or business partner, etc.? Absolutely. If you have the opportunity to do so, absolutely. In terms of our approach to this first meeting, it can complicate things, because now you're not one-on-one, you're one-on-two or one with two. And the dynamics are very different, and you may have to practice because you're working with two people over here. It's not just his goals, it's his and her goals, or their goals of their business partners. So it's not always as easy, but if you have the opportunity, absolutely. Because if you blow him away with this first meeting, and then you need him to go home and speak to his partner to get the go-ahead to have the second meeting and have her come to the second meeting, he's not going to share the experience he had with you in the way that he had it, right? Okay, some quick don'ts. Don't lead with product, cost, or performance, because you will be dead in the water. You will be cornered. You are the best today, and you cannot be the best tomorrow. Just don't. Okay, I don't have time, so I'm going to go through these quickly. Do not turn the spotlight on yourself, because it has little to do with you and has everything to do with the client. Do not jump around. Move in a direction and with a flow. Get the client's buy-in and suggestions as to how that flow should look in the beginning. But through this, if you stick to this as a suggested way of being and way of doing, you will have a track that you can stick to. Don't jump around. Don't force a hostile takeover. And the first thing that comes to mind is when advisors take letters of authority and in very, very fine print at the bottom include size 4 font. I hereby give this financial advisor permission to take over all of my policies and investments. Trust me, guys, it still happens. Don't do that, because you will be found out and you will lose that client. What's the point? What's the point, right? Still happens. That's why I'm putting it there. Don't meet at an inappropriate place or time. Make sure that you and they are comfortable. Okay. While the kids are screaming and their partner is cooking and you're sitting in the TV room with their kids jumping all over you, it's an inappropriate place and time. Get them to your office. Invite them onto a virtual call. Go to their office if necessary. I'm not even going to talk about McDonald's. Don't relinquish control. You are their guide. That you are their co-pilot. That you are their educator. Okay. Keep control while giving them autonomy in terms of the destination. Don't muddy the water with things that don't make sense or things that don't matter. Be very specific and be on course. Okay. Don't go on tangents. Don't be vague. Don't babble. You may have 2 hours, but you have an objective, an agenda, and now you have a process and a philosophy and a way of being and doing. And don't leave without the agreements or the next steps. Ever, 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 ever. That counts for any meeting. Don't leave with agreements and next steps. Ever. Even if it's the end of the process you've implemented, what's next? I'll see you in 6 months. All right, if you want to reach out to me, you can have a look at the particular brands. Coaching is Success Coaching. Insane Prospecting is the prospecting brand. If I Consult will launch on the 14th of May. That's very specific into financial planning businesses to help them take their businesses to the next level. And this is where you can reach me. Thank you so much for being with me today. I have really enjoyed presenting to you, being with you, and I've really enjoyed the lead up to this as well. I really implore you to take as much as you can into your financial planning, client engagement process and put this to practice. Over to you, Seema.
Thank you so much, Jason, for such an insightful webinar. If you are watching the recording of this, you can download the presentation that's on the learning portal. And I guess this is a wrap for 2022. Thank everybody for joining us this year. We do have a quite interesting lineup of CPD webinars lined up for you in 2023. Our calendar is booked right up until May. And if I don't chat to any of you before, have a wonderful festive season. Jason, thank you for your time. And
thank you.
until next time. Bye-bye, everybody.